Good morning or good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Pen Name Publishing Author Roundtable. Today we are joined by one of Pen Name Publishing's 2017 authors, Julie Sullivan. Good morning. She's coming to us bright and early. It's about, what, 4 o'clock your time?
It's 5:30.
5:30 from the UAE. So thank you for getting up early and joining us today. What's going on with you, Julie? What are you reading? Anything interesting?
I have started, sorry, I'm getting over a bit of a cold, so I sound kind of funny. I have actually started reading the Asylum series, and the name of the author slips my mind, sorry. But it is really good. It's a horror about this boy who goes to this college that used to be an asylum, and it turns out he may or may not have a past there, and some of the old residents are reaching out to him. It's good.
Wow, it sounds really interesting. I haven't heard of this one yet. I'll have to write that down.
Yeah, I am on the second one. The first one is Asylum, and then the one I'm currently reading is called Sanctum. So it's very good.
Awesome. Are they both kind of creepy? Is it a Halloween read, or do you tend to like those kind of mystery stories?
A little bit of both. I definitely like young adult. The cover really drew me in. This old-fashioned, old-timey, like black and white photo, but then it had this really bright blue, like the wording for Asylum, and it was a really cool cover. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to give that one a shot, and so I did. But otherwise, I like to read a lot of different books. I was reading the Gone series by Michael Grant. That one was really awesome. I love retellings. It's kind of my thing. But
we like
those are great. Oh, thanks. Although my retelling also is a little bit twisted, so I don't know, maybe there's a horror thing going on.
It's all fun. It's I have a problem getting any type of slightly kind of like creepy book here in India, so I basically just get very like white bread books, and either they're Indian authors or they're, you know, US clean cut YA. So it is what it is. But I grew up and I loved like the scary stories to tell in the dark and those kind of semi creepy books. So
yeah.
I just finished this. Well, I didn't finish it. This is the first book in a while I put do not finish. It's The Versions of Us. And it's talking about like you have an event and you can make different choices in that event. And so it follows these people meeting and the 3 different ways that their life could go. Do they get together? Do they not get together? Do they stay with their partners and then get together later? But it's really, you get each section of their life in a chapter. So it goes like 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. And it's really confusing to keep them together. So I thought I will read it by version 1 all the way through. And then you realize that the writing just really is not that good. So it's just very cut and dry and boring. So I had to DNF it. So yeah. Unfortunately, that's not for us. So today on the Author Roundtable, now that we've got our readings out of the way, we're going to talk about author ethics. Are you still with me, Julie, or are you frozen? Yeah, I think she's frozen. Hey, Julie, can you hear me? Bear with me, guys. This is live. Oh, she's back.
Is it back? Am I back? I'm in my writing room, which doesn't always get the best reception, so I may have to move to my living room where the Wi-Fi box is, because all the buildings here are made with cement. Yeah, and so the Wi-Fi is not the greatest. So let me move.
Okay.
Get to
Well,
see
while
my
you're
messy house.
No, you're fine. While you're moving, I'm just gonna give the intro for what we're talking about today. So we're going to go in and start discussing author ethics, which has actually kind of become a really hot topic lately. And if you're active on Twitter or Facebook, there's been a lot of kind of Twitter wars. There's been a lot of issues with what's called subtweeting, where people kind of tweet comments at people, like secondary comments at people. And then there was also an article that came out recently about a writer whose whole livelihood exists on her writing under a pen name. And an author who knew her true identity kind of spilled the beans, and she felt that that breached her confidentiality and was unethical from one author to the other. So in this great writing world, because we don't have enough to already worry about with getting ourselves out there, now we have to kind of really realize relationships and ethics and what is considered okay and what might kind of cross the line with being an author. So that's what we're going to kind of break down and discuss today. So what are your initial, once you get settled in here?
Sorry.
No, you're fine, Julie. That was perfect timing. That was perfect timing. So what are your initial thoughts on basically what it means to be an ethical writer, just from that point?
Well, I mean, my biggest thing is, and I mean, I was raised pretty conservatively, I'm not going to lie, but I just remember, like, the golden rule, number one, like, do what you want other people to do to you. Like, and if you can't say something nice, just don't say anything at all. Like, I have a really hard time sometimes watching on Twitter because I see some of the things people say or post, and I just think that's just really kind of mean and unnecessary, and I don't understand it. So my biggest rule of thumb for me personally is, if it's not something nice, or if it's not something that I would want somebody to say to me, I won't say it on social media. Maybe I'll say something to my husband and be like, hey, can you believe this? But I definitely don't put it somewhere where it's going to be forever, because that stuff sticks around. Like, not worth it. It's just not worth it for that 5-minute rant or whatever, for it to maybe come back to me 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So.
And we're seeing this a lot, even with the current election or current celebrities, where all of a sudden tweets that they put out maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago are being dug up and brought to the forefront, and it is ruining some careers because people put something out that they thought was funny. And I suppose the thing that really bothers me about this is authors in general. Why are you fighting with each other? Like, what are you getting from fighting with somebody who could be your biggest support system?
Yeah.
I just
Yeah, no, I agree. In fact, I'm rather new to the Twitter world, or Twitterverse, or whatever it is called. But I have to say, like, I am just so astounded overall. I mean, like I said, there are those couple of people that I'm like, what the heck are you doing? But for the most part, like, the writing community on Twitter is just so supportive and just so incredibly just amazing. And I found so many people that are just really supportive and really, really just great people. And it's like, you never know what a person's going through, and you never know if they could be your greatest supporter. I mean, some of the people that I've met, I'm like, I mean, they've got a nice picture. They posted something cool for One Line Wednesday, and then all of a sudden this person's like, hey, let me query your book, your critique, and then I'm gonna get you a publishing deal or whatever. Like, it's just, you never know. So you really need to be careful.
Absolutely. And I'm shocked to hear you say that you're new to Twitter, because if you go follow Julie on Twitter, it's _JM. And is there another underscore, or is it just _JM Sullivan? Okay, so it's _JM
__ Sullivan.
Yeah,
there's 2 underscores.
Yeah. Your Twitter is actually really good, and it is one of my favorite author Twitter accounts from our family, because it is so, yeah, it's so diversive as far as what you put out, and you follow the 80-20 rule really well. You're really engaging. You provide a lot of blog content. So you're doing a really good job. So to hear you say, "Oh, I'm new to the Twitterverse," I'm like, whatever. You're a seasoned pro. So what advice would you give to somebody who is finding themselves caught in drama? Because this recently happened with the Diverse Books video, where I don't know if where the author, V.E. Schwab, got pulled into it. And I think she handled it really well. She spoke out to her fans. She said, "I don't approve of this." But some authors who second-handedly get pulled into this social media drama don't know how to handle it, and they kind of shoot their own foot when they're not in the wrong in any way. So what advice would you give to somebody who kind of gets caught unknowingly?
I mean, I would just say as hard as it can be, just take that high road. I mean, don't engage. Like, and I've seen a couple of Twitter wars or whatever you want to call them, and I'll read them like, what are you saying? What is this person doing? And and then what I see what happens is the person says something back, and then that person who's attacking them or is twisting their words now has more ammo and something else to go after them by. And so I would just say, either take the high road if you can and see if you can clarify. And if you can't, if that person is just set on whatever it is for whatever reason, I just don't engage. Just don't. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And that can be really hard for people, because a lot of people feel that they have to defend themselves and that they have to stand back and say, but that's not correct. I'm not involved in this. But what you're saying, really, truly, don't engage, because when you're on Twitter, even if it's, or Facebook or anything under your personal account, what some authors don't realize is that's your brand. And so you can really do a lot of heavy damage just simply by even commenting, because then you get pulled into it, and then you might get even harsher messages sent your way, and that's just not fun. We don't want to deal with that. We just want to write and make people happy. That's why we're writers, right?
Right. So, exactly.
The article that got into our pen name publishing family author discussion board is about Elena Ferrante, who her identity was a part of who she was because it was so obscure, and some people knew who she was, some people didn't, but she's a bestseller. She wanted to keep it anonymous because that was part of her brand. It created really an obsession with people wanting to know who she is and fueling her books. And then a journalist in the New York Review of Books outed her. And so there's a lot of discussion going on right now because a male journalist outed a female author, that he put out paychecks that she got, and he really,
wow.
I didn't understand the purpose for this. Like, was he trying to tear her down? What was the point? And so that's really kind of what fueled this discussion. Today we were going to talk about how to work with an editor, but our editing board kind of dropped down a little bit last minute, so we're going to move that one later. But what would you do, Julie? What would you do if, say, your whole identity was based on you being anonymous, and then suddenly you realize that that blanket of anonymity is taken off of you? What would you do? Would you embrace it, or would it be a challenge for you? Because a lot of authors write under pen names, so this could happen to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that would be really hard. In fact, when I first started, obviously it wasn't like a fake pen name like Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens or whatever. But I chose J.M. Sullivan because I was thinking I was going to try and be a little bit more anonymous. But then I was finding that with Twitter and with branding, that just really wasn't the route that I wanted to go. So, I mean, obviously you can see I'm a girl, and I'm okay with that. But like, if I had continued under just JM and then not elaborated, and if I just kind of kept my personality hidden, and I worked really hard to do that, and somebody just showed everybody, like, I'd be really upset. I'd be really hurt. for one, especially if it was a person that I had trusted, that would be really upsetting. So there would be that whole aspect that I'd be dealing with. But I guess, and I'm not perfect, and please don't think I'm perfect, because I'm just trying to think of what I would do. But I guess the only really option that you would have to do would be to embrace it. I mean, because it kind of sucks because she doesn't really have much of an option. But if she does with social media, if she backlashes and she goes out against this person, I mean, she may have some followers because of what's happening, or the loyal followers, and she may have some of those feminist people because of the dynamic of it being a male person. So I think she would have some supporters, but then at the same time, there would be some people who would not support her. And so I guess it would just be a matter of, well, do you want to risk putting off those potential supporters, and then lash out, or do you want to take the high road, keep the supporters that you do have, and then maybe find a new loyal fan base as yourself? I mean, and if she does embrace it, I mean, this whole group of people have been, you said, fanatically trying to figure out who she is. She could almost use it to her advantage and be like, hey, you want to know who I am? Well, this is me. And then maybe take it from that angle.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I think this will create some challenges for Ferrante. She's kind of like the Sia of book publishing, where her whole purpose of being hidden was because she felt that self-promotion damages or diminishes the actual quality of art, no matter what kind of art that could be. And I'm going to read you a quote from Gaddy, the guy who wrote the piece. He says that he revealed the author's name and personal information. His argument was that by announcing that she would lie on occasion, Ferrante has in a way relinquished her right to disappear behind her books and let them live and grow while their author remained unknown. Indeed, she and her publisher seem to have fed public interest in her true identity. So he's kind of saying, I have a right to out you because you're using a pen name, or because you're trying to hide yourself. And this was really concerning to me because he works for the New York Review of Books, which, if anybody should understand that pen name or the possible way an author can brand themselves, it should be a major book reviewer. So I found that really shocking, that somebody from a source that so many authors trust is just like, well, you're lying to us and I have a right to out you. I kind of thought, what's ethical about that?
No, that doesn't sound ethical to me at all. And I mean, the whole argument seems pretty far-fetched. I mean, even if she was lying about her life, I mean, whatever, it's her life and her books are two completely separate things. My book is not my life. There are no Momrath running around in the UAE. Like, it doesn't, like, I mean, just because I write something doesn't mean that that's who I am. That's why they call it fiction. It's a beautiful thing.
It is. And when you look at entertainment in general, how many people use secondary names or pen names or, stage names? So does that diminish the quality of someone's art simply because they choose to put it out under a different name? I mean, even J.K. Rowling, when she got off of Harry Potter, decided to use a pen name to try to prove that she could actually write. So let's say I had a really good question for you, and my coffee is just now kicking in. So let me see if I can get that to come back up. I really need to start
coffee is so important.
Oh, it is. I really need to start waking up at like 5 a.m. on these calls so my brain is fully flowing by 7 a.m. my time. We actually have a clause in our contract for authors that says that if we view an author's behavior or online behavior to be unethical or against our ethics, that we can cut the contract, because we really believe, and we have had to do this twice actually, which is really unfortunate, but we really believe in, we represent the author represents a part of us. And so there are certain things that we just can't get behind, like purposely starting arguments or being racist or you know, tearing other people down or not, you know, being like positive. And of course, everybody's not going to have a perfect day, but when you, for months on a time, log onto social media with the purpose of tearing down people or looking for people or trying to start side wars, then that's kind of not in our ethics. But that is happening a lot right now in the author world. And it's really disheartening. But why do you think all of a sudden the writing world has turned into Mean Girls? Do you think it's because so many books are put out every day, or what is going on?
I like that.
I mean,
I don't know. I think part of it, I think maybe a couple of reasons. The first one, I think, because it's becoming so much more, like, social media is becoming so much more prevalent. Before, like, I mean, I don't know, authors could have been jerks before. You just wouldn't have known it because there wasn't Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. I mean, they could just be like, oh, that Jane Austen is such a jerk, but nobody would ever find out. Like, I don't, you know. So I think it could be just a thing that it's more prevalent, and it's so much more easily accessible. I mean, honestly, what it takes all of 30 seconds to type a tweet, and I know for a fact, as a teacher, there are a lot of people who don't really think before they say things, and the fact that there's this whole world that is at their fingertips for them to say whatever it is they want to think, like, hey, I want a turkey sandwich, and they can say it, and 600 people will see it, 6 million people will see it, whatever. You take a cranky author and something to vent and no personal filter, and you've got these problems. The other thing, actually, I thought of as you were talking, you mentioned celebrities these days, and right now celebrity feuds are kind of a huge thing too. Except for more often than not, like, the celebrity feuds get these people more attention and more followers, and you hear the bad publicity is good publicity or whatever. And I think, you know, if for celebrities that can be true, for authors, it's a different dynamic, and I don't think people quite understand that. They just think, oh, well, I'm getting publicity. It doesn't matter what it's for. And I don't agree with that statement, for one. And I think that if people are taking it to heart, that could be part of the problem, maybe.
I definitely agree with that. And I think it's kind of goes to like the Andy Warhol, everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame. And
Yes.
Some people do think that by getting any mentions, any press could be good press. And it takes me back to the other story we were recently talking about from last summer, where her name has flipped over I can't remember her name, but she catfished one of her reviewers, or was catfished
Yes, I
by a
read
reviewer
that.
and stalked her.
Crazy.
I mean,
I had never even heard of that until you posted the article, and I'm sitting there reading, like, what did I just read? Like, what is this? This is insane. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it goes, when we first started, I would tell my authors, if you get a negative review, then simply say, you know, thank you for giving me your time. I appreciate you reading my book. I hope that even if you don't like this one, maybe you'll like a future book. Because I thought that was nice, but apparently even that can be seen as snarky. So people say specifically, remember that on the internet, you can't read tone. And so people can interpret whatever you're saying anyway. So if you get a negative review, just don't interact. And there are people out there who, for some reason, get so much pleasure in leaving negative reviews or cyber stalking people, or even Peter Mon has a YouTube channel now, and he has 2. He's like a celebrity now, so you know, he's blowing up like crazy. So go, Peter! Woohoo! You deserve it, buddy. As soon as he posts a video, he gets automatic trolls. People have set automatic troll filters to his channel. So the fact that people do this, it can be so easy to fall into becoming one of those people by trying to defend yourself. And as authors, we have to be really ethical personal ethics, you know. And so my piece of advice to authors is, if you feel like you want to write something out, and I have an Irish temper, so I practice this sometimes. Tweet it, type it in, and then delete it, or type it into Word. And 2 hours later, if you feel like it's still a good idea to put it out, then type it out again and delete it again. And sometimes just simply putting it down and deleting it, or writing it down and throwing that piece of paper away, can be really kind of therapeutic, because this, I think what makes it so much more intense for an author is books aren't written overnight. And I mean, they can take months, they can take years, they can take weeks. So we're bleeding our soul onto the paper for somebody just to kind of turn around and say, oh, this is crap and you're a horrible author. So maybe that becomes a little bit more personal for writers to come against. So what advice would you give to someone who is really struggling with not dipping in or not interacting? I know earlier we said just simply don't interact, but what advice would you give to somebody to just level the playing field, cool down?
I guess I would just say find your person, and make sure that person is not online. It could be your dog, it could be your best friend, your husband, your mom, your sister, I don't know, whoever. But find your person and just make them your go-to, and then that way you have a way to get it out, and you can be frustrated and you can explain. And if they're really a good person, they're your person. Obviously, I watch Grey's Anatomy. It's so fabulous. Then they have your best interest at heart, and they'll support you, and they can be like, oh, they're stupid anyway, and you're fabulous, and they'll build you up, and then you'll feel better about it. And I mean, granted, you'll probably still have those sad feelings, and I am not a perfect authority about this by any means, because my debut novel has not come out, and so I'm sure I'm going to get those bad reviews, and I'm sure I'm going to cry into my pillow. But I would say find a really good support system outside of social media. That way you don't feel like the only place that you can go to share your feelings is there, so you can keep your author brand and your social presence happy and bubbly and whatever, or dark and broody and mysterious, or whatever it is that your brand is. You just don't turn into like a mean girl.
That's true. And authors in general, I think, if we're generalizing the field here, tend to be a little bit more introverted, especially when it comes to their writing. So it can be a very emotional experience for them. So find that person outside of your writing community who can look at it objectively. Because even if you vent to a fellow author, like, oh my God, so-and-so said this about my book, a fellow author who understands what you go through is probably going to be like, no way, girl, go get him. So, find that support system maybe outside. There is no code of ethics for being a writer. And I think it's just like how you opened up, do unto others what you would have done to you, and conduct yourself in a way that you would want other people to conduct themselves with you. And if you feel like somebody's crossing the line, try to understand why you feel they're crossing the line, and don't cross it back with them. Because as indie authors, there's so many websites out there dedicated. There's a website called Authors Behaving Badly, where people blast authors that are doing bad things online. And once you're on there, the book bloggers won't work with you. Literary agents look at it. That goes into publishing. So the mean girl thing goes really deep in here. Yeah. So if you haven't heard of Authors Behaving Badly before, authors, keep that in mind before you do anything online. Because there's also one called Goodreads Behaving Badly for people and book bloggers behaving badly. So, and once you're on there, even if you feel like what you did was right and you can defend it, there's no chance. So it's better just to not engage. and walk away and be quiet. So, Julie, you're coming out next year, and we're so excited for this. So we haven't actually made our 2017 author announcements yet, but you've met Julie now. You've met Amanda. I'm trying to think of who else of our new authors have joined us, and I think that's it for now. The official announcements come out in December, but the new author crop is so great that we're having a hard time keeping them under wraps, and we're really excited to share them with you. So since this is your first time to meet Julie, Julie, I want you to tell the audience a little bit about your great retelling that's coming up, so we can tease them a little bit how to talk to you on social media, how to find your website, and how they can continue the conversation with you, because you're a lot of fun on social media.
Okay.
GIF party for life. GIF party for life here. So send those, I don't know if it's GIF or GIF, but the GIF.
Dude, I don't know. They're fabulous, though. I love them. They make me happy.
We fell in love with you over those, so
those are fun.
All right, how do we find you?
Okay, you can find me on Twitter. Is probably my favorite handle, and that's @_JM_Sullivan. I love to post lots of different things. I am a mommy, I am a teacher, I am an author, and I am also an aspiring runner. So I have, most of my posts are kind of related around that. Like I said, the gift parties are fabulous. You'll see lots of those. I also tend to do the emoticons because the tone issue. So I figure if somebody can't understand my tone, if I put a big smiley face on there, it makes it a little better. That's my logic anyway. You can also find me on my blog or my website, which is jmsullivan.weebly.com. And on there, I blog about writing and books I'm reading. And then I also have an Am Living section where I talk about my Pinterest projects attempts. There are some that are going to be really fabulous, and there's some that are going to be really bad. And I'm sure it's going to be awesome. And my cooking attempts, which is great. And then I also have 2 sections where I'm going to work on my side projects called the Wanderland Chronicles, which is going to be dedicated to like mini stories about my characters from Wanderland. And then the other one is a short story series that I started called The Days After I Died. And it's, So, yes, I don't know, like, go read it. It's got the prologue. The rest is coming up. I'm going to be doing, I think, monthly installments unless I can get more time, but because I'm a teacher and a mother and a debuting author and animal juggler and about 600 million other things, I'm gonna start small. But did you want me to talk about Wanderland, or should we keep that on the DL for a little bit?
Can you sum up what makes Wanderland so special in one sentence?
Wanderland is a fabulous retelling of Alice in Wonderland, but it is a dark and twisty version with zombies and lots of mystery and suspense.
Yes, perfect. And I had to laugh when you were talking about the Pinterest fails, because I imagine yours are a lot like mine, where now I just give up because it's not the same here. And I get on Pinterest, I'm like, oh, if only I wasn't living in India, I could make this really nice. But
right, actually, I know I did make one of those cute little coffee mugs the other day, and I was really proud of myself because I found it's called Daiso, which is kind of like the equivalent of the dollar store here. And it was one of those like ceramic cups, and I colored it and I decorated it. And I was actually really proud of myself, except I forgot to turn off the oven. So I don't know if it's set properly or what, but it looks cute. See what happens when it gets washed.
So everyone go check out Julie's blog. And this goes into another great example of ways to utilize your author website. You can brand yourself in a way that doesn't have to just be about writing. You can really present yourself to the world, and all of our authors have amazing websites showing the different facets of who they are. So go check them out. So Julie, we want to thank you for chatting with us today. Oh, is this a puppy?
This is
Kitty.
Ember. This is my kitten. She's my venting buddy.
Oh. Yeah, we love
she
our
likes
pets. I don't know. There we go. There she is.
Yeah, she's a good girl. She's my princess, a diva for sure. Funny story, I was not a cat person until I came to the UAE because dogs here really aren't, I mean, we have dogs, but they're just not as prevalent. And I had never been a cat person. And then my husband brought me home Ember, and I have turned. I'm now one of those crazy cat ladies.
Yeah, we all have the funniest pets. It's really funny. So one day you might be able to meet Leanne on one of these chats, and she has a cat named Dorian Gray, and he will only clean himself in front of the mirror. So he literally is Dorian Gray. So
that's amazing.
It's so
That's
funny.
amazing.
So
I saw. Sorry, I saw a quiz on Facebook where you can find out what house your pets belong in. Like it's a personality test. I would recommend you all find it, and it's pretty hilarious. Ember is a Slytherin, and that's accurate. It's accurate.
Yeah, Ramona would probably be a Hufflepuff. So I don't want to take it. I want to believe she's Gryffindor, but she's Hufflepuff. So what can we do? So we're going to go ahead and close down. And I really want to thank you for giving your morning, Julie. This was a great chat about ethics. Twitterverse out there, YouTube, Universe, and friends. If you want to continue the chat, hit us at fpbookworks.com. If you want to join us for a future call, you can sign up on FrenchPressBookworks.com under Author Roundtable. There is the sign-up section. We're going to take up to 5 authors for every roundtable. You don't have to be part of the Pen Name Publishing family to join us. So do that. Reach out to us and keep an eye on Julie because we can't wait to bring out Wonderland next year.
Thanks.
Yeah, so enjoy the rest of your day and
yes,
enjoy those conversations and keep ruling on your Twitter and your blog. You're doing an awesome job.
Thanks.
All right. Bye, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye.